Well, this was just my little moment to come on here and show you all a little thing I've done so far and kind of where I've made these marks around here where we are going to use the saw to cut out the little lines for the wise men's crowns, and just kind of take a moment where I'm going to do a little more video just to kind of give you all little demonstrations as to how I drew these lines, and just kind of come to think where we kind of cut them out in ways so there would be plenty of wood in between the little spikes of the crown, and so we kind of come along, make things so we're just gonna work our way about them. Bless our work, I say. Oh, what a lot of time in going into this. And so take the pencil, and you see those lines, we kind of got to draw the little triangles on the top in exactly the places where the other triangles already are and put them right in. And so that's just where we come about this little thing we do, make it so they're going to line up just right, how we got those, and make one over here too. And that's kind of the place where we're going to cut the lines, and it'll come out the same on both the back and the front and on both sides once we put it through the little bandsaw. So I'll tell you all that the coffee tree is a little thinner than the other two woods, and also a little thinner on the sides and probably a little thicker the other direction. So we kind of had to do a little differently with that, but we're going to take the walnut ones and try to line things up a little bit relatively the same way here to put the little triangles in from where we're going to saw out some more good little lines to go into these kings and these wise men and things. And so just make it so it's going to work to the best of our way and see how it all can come out and turn out for the best. I'd say we got those here, except I'd say we probably did them from little vice versa directions, though. I'd say we probably got them in best way we knew how, best way we could, and it's worked for us there. And do believe we're going to take these poplar ones and kind of do them relatively the same way, where we got the little only three and on the back and one on the what is the left to us but the right to it, and then make this other line come right in place there, make it so it's going to be where it needs to be. So come to down to this, make a little place where we put a little triangle in, and come down to where work is just making a way down to where it's working right into us. I say coming down, make the little happy crown for the little wise man as he knows who he is and what he's here to do. The wise men who brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We're going to bring this to a little stop here, then we're going to go cut these triangles and we're going to come back. Well, I'm back now, and for this little moment I made this little stop in the video, I just kind of went over to the shop to make the cuts on the bandsaw. Here's how I got the crowns to turn out here. They might have gotten a little crooked in some places, but found little ways to straighten that up, kind of make it so it almost kind of looks like what could end up being a bed of quills for a porcupine or something like that. So we got little work we make coming along here. Probably will have some more to show as it comes later on, making these little crowns just like this. And I say there's been some work involved in what we've made of these little men, and where I kind of showed y'all little things about the baby Jesus and the shepherd in the last one. Probably going to be a little more focused on the wise men in this one. I did notice it's very windy outside today. Don't think I could be doing this video out on the porch without getting the wind blowing everything away and blowing the tablet away that we record on and all this stuff. But I come along just to make the work do itself, and just wanted to show you all some other little lines I made. You all see how I made these lines in the front that are going to make out the fronts of their robes. That is something that I say for just a little kind of work. Let me remeasure again, see what it came down to here. But I say we all just got down to having, I say just something like about a little 1.5 inch, and about 3/4 of an inch over is where the center is, and where we kind of make our little mark to go in there, and see what it's going to be like when it all just gets a little more done to the end, and finding what we have to work with for what we're going to do just next. And I say we have come this way so far. I think we're going to have to center this up so each of these lines gets a little bit of a space over, but I'd say with this we probably already got the line in just the place where it needs to be, like this. So just kind of have to measure it up by this ruler to see where we are, about 3/4 of an inch up. So we go about 3/4 of an inch up the rest of the way to kind of make it so we have little places that we go about what we all do and see and things, and taking them all down to where it's going to be the work of all we do and all we say and all we have and all we make. And then come where we do little things to shine lights and brighten days and all, and come down with a little extra further step, make it so it's going to be the design it needs to be when we all get done. And so with this, take it down a little step further to the place where we need to get it right for all things. I say kind of go the line, take it where it needs to go, make it so it's going to show a little kindness and art and work and all we have and all we say and all we do, and then kind of work our way along to see what we're going to make of this little wooden statue set. So that's where we're making the work. We're coming along to make the way it's going to be as far as how it's going to look and go. And woe, I tell y'all, woe is me, I say. Little work made its way. And I'd say for another thing, probably, I'd say, go about to the center on these ones of Kentucky coffee tree and see how we come just one notch below a quarter of an inch on each side and put the mark right in the center where it needs to be and make it so we're kind of shining little bright light in the world. And oh, I say a little bit of work and easiness and time and effort to go into each piece we make. And since we got about a half an inch over on every little one, we kind of work our way around it to where we put a little line in the center. And that's what we got up here, is this little line here, this little line up here, this little mark up here. So take the ruler and kind of guide it along, make it so it's going to take over the rest of the way. See how a little image is making it so we're kind of guiding steps and taking it slow and doing the strangest, weirdest things we ever know to do, and come down where it looks just about like a king's robe in a way. And then, all things considered, we've just got a couple more lines to draw down here at the very end of this one to where it kind of stands on its own at the edge, and go the rest of the way down and make it so it's going to kind of lighten our load up. See how a little king shall work along, and see how our work shall do with us. We're going a long way as far as what we have and all, but made those and got one more line to make to go down a little center here, and that's where we see the little king come out just as he should be. And then think it's going to come a time when we'll get on the little thumb protector and I say make little ways to go and come down little things like this. Maybe just try to take it easy on the wood for now. Maybe I'd say try to start out with the poplar this time. It's probably the easiest of these three woods, so we can kind of make the little cut in there. We could use just about any knife to do this because it's soft enough we can do it. I mean, some people think poplar is hard, but it's not hard for me. I mean, but I tell you, there's all kinds of woods I carve that would be hard for most people. And Calvin Grant, who I've mentioned to you about before, I mean, he was just always one who, you know, he kind of like, I'd say, you know, just carved poplar, and always said that to him it really wasn't all that hard. And kind of make the line so it goes to the center of the piece, and we get the robe of the king, and kind of try to make a little line along this one as well. Try to put a little time and work into this to make the king look like his majesty. And you know, there's been plenty things, like when I was a kid, there was somebody who was in a picture, he was a king in my grandmother was the kindergarten Sunday school teacher at the church I grew up in, and I was in her class. It was like, you know, little things we talked about in there. Some man was in there wearing a crown and a robe, and she asked me, "Who is that?" And I said, "The King of Kings." And she said, "No, it's not the King of Kings." But I tell you all, it's like, I know that there was a certain song the octet in the church sang that had a little line in it that went, "Son of God, King of Kings." I knew Jesus was the Son of God, but didn't realize, according to the song, that the Son of God and the King of Kings were both Jesus. So it probably wasn't Jesus himself that was in the picture, but we kind of come to see that. And here's where I just hollowed out a little place to make a little thing to stick out for the robe underneath. But they were just kind of little things like we had kings. And sometimes I'd hear a song and just about think anything of it if I heard it. And that was how it was. There was a little octet and a choir in the church, and certain songs that the one of my uncles, who was also like a choir director there for a time, kind of led the choir in and got them singing. So it just kind of was a little good to us all, works in ways to us, and makes us see shining lights come our ways. And I think since we got that much out of here, going to kind of make the little line here to make it so that the king shows out. There's going to be some other steps that'll be taken further on. We'll get around to those as soon as we can, but do think for a little moment. We might kind of take a little sharp knife and dig into this walnut here. So that's where we get the little lines that make the walnut wood out to us, and kind of come our way to where this is going to be a nativity to look at for people. And I'm saying that I see how progress comes along on this. It's probably coming along a little further and a little faster than I ever probably expected, but it's coming. Don't really know where this nativity is going to be next year, whether it's going to be sold. Probably won't be out anywhere this year. Think I might keep it a year just to kind of give it a little time, kind of get used to it, and kind of give myself a little time with it, and say that there's going to be another expense to come in another year, but that'll be something which, on its very own, we will be taken care of for the time being. And I'd say that this is where we come in. Sometimes when it comes to taxes, we have to pay the government. So I tell y'all, I just had a little thing with the revenue recently where, of course, I'd say I paid some taxes, and had one little tax that I paid a little late. Thought I had already paid it online, but probably I filled the thing out but forgot to hit submit. Then when I got on there more recently to pay the one that was due more recently, I found out that the other one got overdue because it hadn't been paid. So I kind of got a little late fee on it. Got charged a late fee that had to pay off. So we kind of took care of that the best we could. And I'd say probably, in a sense, there was a certain amount I thought was on a certain form I was given. So I paid that much, and then kind of got another notification from them that my last tax had been overpaid. So I'd say, of all things, we took care of what we could. We take care of things the best we can. We know that we've got little receipts to keep. Sometimes I miss the days when I didn't have a lot going on, but thankful that these days it's like I feel like I have a good business to go and make things about what all I do and how we see the little work and coming along the ways to make what we have out of our work and what we do, and then come down to think of it, there's just a little place that hangs below here for the tunic. We already got it carved out on this other wise man too, and these are the two walnut ones. We got the poplar ones already, but as for now, we carved the walnut out and see how this is going to make a little wise man look when he comes out in the end. And I've got another couple little things to show you once I get done about this and take it all down to the place where it's going to come, where it's going to need to be, and then come down to where we see a little king in his majesty in his robe, and coming down to see a little place in our life where we do. There's probably other little funny things I have to show here if I haven't knocked everything off to where I can't find it. I've already shown you the piece I had made for the camel that will travel with the wise men, but I do want to tell you another story about a certain other nativity I've known. Like back in the days when in a little place I used to pass on the way to work, there was a certain whimsical nativity out there made by Patience Brewster, and of course with her wise men in it, she had one camel, one elephant, and one horse. So that was pretty neat. Wise men could have traveled on those, but I'd like to show you how my horse and camel came out. Now, this here was a horse that was made from a scrap, and I'd say it was probably a good size for its own, but kind of small to go with these wise men. These big guys couldn't ride on a horse that little. And then I also kind of had this elephant here. I made two little tiny baby elephants from two little tiny pieces of mimosa that I've kind of taken places and tried to sell. But then when it came down to these big ones, I finally got the big piece and plan to carve this. I've already drawn out the lines, haven't had them drawn out for a long time, plan to carve it soon, but I'd say that it's not been all that material lately, not been something I've needed all that much, so I haven't really worked on it. But there again, I'd say I couldn't imagine one of these wise men riding on an elephant this little, if in comparison to the pieces, that is. And this again is mimosa wood, I will not fail to mention. But I do want to tell you a little story about big people riding on the backs of little ponies. And there was a pet store that is in my own hometown, and there was a man who owned it. I came in there so much that people kind of knew me. I was always in there like buying crickets for the little creatures I had to feed and things like that. And so it was like one of those things where I came in a lot, and one afternoon I stopped by to visit, and there happened to be some people out there that had a couple of little ponies from a farm for little kids to ride on. I tell you, I never asked to ride the backs of any of those ponies. Probably wouldn't have interested me even if they had a horse big enough for me to ride on. But what happened was that silly owner, he could be a kook sometimes, was trying to convince me to get on the backs of one of those ponies. I said, no, I'm way too large, way too big. And there was one of those ponies was a little bit bigger than the other, and he said, you could ride on that one. And I said, no. And then he kind of went to the people who brought the ponies and said, do you think Jonathan could ride on the back of that pony? And they kind of said what they said, and I told him, see, I told you. So, I mean, some people just kind of have some nonsense sometimes, and that's kind of how it goes sometimes. And you know, it's just one of those things where sometimes I just got to be thankful to have little changes in my life where I can kind of move around and have different people at different times, because some of them get a little bit too much for you. So when it comes down to this, I just want to say that one of these days I hope to come back around and get around to carving out these coffee tree wise men. We're going to have them among our work as well. I'd say this is, considering wherever on the tree this piece of coffee tree came from, it's carvable wood, but probably these pieces a little harder and tougher depending on where in the tree they were and whether the tree grew up on a hill or close to water or whatever. So that will kind of determine a lot of things, and I just decided to say that we're going to call it quits on this video, bring it to an end, and have a little bit more to show on the next. Thanks again for watching, and take care.